Welcome to the City of Hudson Finance Committee meeting for Monday, April 8th. First item on business is the minutes of the past meeting. You've had a chance to review and look at them. Is there any changes or additions?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Claims. We have, and I can't seem to find mine. The claims totally, oh, I got them right here, sorry. Any additions? Everybody got your email?
Move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I did have a question on,
Yes.
and I only received one answer back. In one of the sections under the, there was a bad check section, and then some iTunes cards are being paid for.
Well, iTunes, what it is they load anything down for iPads.
Okay.
It's billed through iTunes. So if there's,
You buy it from the Apple Store,
yep, that's how it bills out, is through iTunes.
Okay.
and there are various apps for both the iPhones and the iPad that the IT department uses.
Okay.
So we're not listening to iTunes?
No.
Is that what your question?
But that's how
I
it
looked
show-
at those and they-
that's how it would show up on the bill would
They're
be
not
iTunes,
using-
because the iTunes store is where you buy them. So.
And then the checks that were rewritten or errored?
Checks that were
Explained
canceled?
Pardon?
She explained it that there were checks left in the printer or something, and they were recanceled, and,
Oh, what had happened is we had a couple checks that where, when they were originally printed, didn't have a check number on them or didn't have the encoding, so they couldn't have been cashed.
okay.
So she had to cancel those and reissue those. But those were physically errors when, the boxes of checks were printed. She noticed that they were wrong, we had in printing it, they missed one, and all of a sudden you had a sequence where everything was off by one and you had a blank check, essentially without an encoding number.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
We have a motion and a second.
Oh, we do, I'm sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next is the application for operator's license. I think we have a revised, updated sheet on your desk. Approved license, regular license, operator's license for a period of 4/9/13 to 6/30/14. Justin Gilmer, Matthew Hermson, Brandon Nelson, Caitlin Simpkins, and Alexandria Williams.
Motion to approve the licenses.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And approve the issuance of temporary operational license to be used July 3rd through the 6th, 2013 at the Hudson Booster Days event Lakefront Park. David Berger and John Hernick.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Next item is the application of the Hudson Softball Association for a 6-month Class B beer license for the concession building at Grandview Park, 1100 Carmichael Road. I think this is the same one we've been issuing for probably a long time. Any questions or comments on this?
I assume they check for IDs and stuff up there.
I would assume so.
They're the operators have to be licensed servers?
Yeah, they're required to have licensed operators, and I sent them a reminder to make sure that they knew that some of their licenses were expiring June 30th, so they'll need to get their renewals, but that's part of what their training is for, so that they know to do that.
Okay.
Move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is application of Kingdom Buffet of Hudson for a class beer license at 2312 Crestview Drive. Everything, the background check is good, and Nancy recommends approval.
We're just waiting for the building inspection to be approved. We've gotten the restaurant license copy and the surrender of the previous alcohol license, so
Okay.
Are they switching?
here if you have any questions.
They're just switching license, or?
It's a new ownership.
Okay.
So it's a change of ownership, so the license is an original, a new license.
I'll move for approval.
Subject to the
Subject
building.
to successful building inspection and receipt of a copy of the restaurant license and surrender of the previous owner's alcohol license.
All right. Is there a second? All right.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. SSG appointment of agent for Northland Liquors. We have a new agent. I believe it's Janelle Klatt is the new agent. Any comments, thoughts, questions about that? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 8, review and determine capital budget process. Tom, you better get up here. Well, I shouldn't say you better get up here. There seems to be a lot of capital projects. Good layout, Neil, that we've got, so that we have a good opportunity to take a look at it. I had a couple funding sources that I thought maybe where we could find some money for some of these projects. If we'd want to go through that first, or do you want to say, what's your pleasure, council or finance committee? You want to go line by line? Do you want to,
Sort of.
huh?
Sort of. I'll give just a couple brief questions on a couple.
Sure. Okay, why don't we go for the questions first?
Well, if we go down under the department request for 2013, you've got mill and overlay in the parking lot, Grandview Park,
Yep.
50,000. I'm assuming that's in bad need. 30,000 for riprap on the dike. What about?
There's some general areas around the bridge that were addressed in the last study from Bonestro. Those areas are some washouts along the area where the courtesy docks are that are the dike is actually eroding. So,
More considered a safety.
well, if we don't do anything, I guess it could
Get worse.
potentially be worsen. The other thing is when they did the bridge inspection, that was one of the things they noted in that bridge inspection, that there was some riprap and issues around the bridge.
Could we use the, I'll let you ask the other question.
That's
Could we
okay.
use our dinghy fund, there's $77,000 in the, I call it the Lakefront Park Fund for that project? I mean, that's a other funding source. It's for the
I
dike
think
road.
actually the money that was collected, it's called park improvement.
Yep, that's
fund.
right.
So
But there's
I don't see why it
$77,000 in
wouldn't
there.
be- It would make sense to me that would be a good area to.
Does that fit the criteria, Neil?
I would think it does, because there's nothing that designates it only for mooring improvements, and I mean, with both the dike and the bridge, both of those have an impact on the mooring, so I think you could do that pretty easily.
Okay,
I just guess if there was more of a need for 30,000 somewhere, that would be where I'd
Yep.
go looking first. The garbage cans, is that a solid bid or is that just an estimate?
That's just an estimate.
And then
I don't think we're too far off, though.
there's
we
a,
talked, just excuse me, as funding source for that, we talked a little bit about the
Room tax.
room tax dollars, some of the money coming from room tax, so that's a possible.
Potential.
Potential funding source. Okay, Randy?
then you get a credit, Neil, on the street reconstruction for 16,400, just kind of.
Oh, what that was, if you recall, at the last meeting, we reallocated some of those funds.
Yep,
And if you go over to, that's where you'll see in there, streets core testing for 12,000, and then Vine Street grant application for 14,400. That was the 16,400. So I was just trying to, I
Okay.
put those in there so we could track those amounts.
okay, good. And then the only other, I think, the traffic signal controllers on Second and Vine and Second and Walnut.
I just wanted to put that on the radar, that the two traffic signals at Second and Vine, Second and Walnut are basically obsolete. There's no chance of replacement. There's no chance of parts. We don't have any spares or anything like that. So when they go, we need a totally different control cabinet and the computer and things inside of it. So I just wanted to put that on the radar. We might get by for a few years, but when there is a problem, I just wanted the council to be aware that that's about what it's going to cost to replace each. I think it's 12,000, right, a piece.
Yeah, well, yeah, 25,000, so whatever, 12.5.
Yeah.
Okay.
So right now, it's not a pressing need, but when it happens, we're going to have to do something, so.
Okay, well, and then my final question kind of towards Neil and kind of my opinion moving forward with the unencumbered is I would like to see a majority, if not all, on top of what we go for capital project bonding to add this million to road and street repairs. Our streets are bad, and you know, Rich, you and I have been talking about getting this done quite a while now, and if we've got an extra million, if that's the wrong word, extra, we should use it on roads.
I think with what Tom has talked about, or I think we'll be able to find homes for that pretty easy, don't you think, Tom?
Above and beyond what
Yep.
he's presented.
Okay.
I have a question on the
Yep.
Walnut Street Bridge underwater inspection. Didn't we just do that a year or two?
We never did the underwater inspection. It was just above water, and they took photos, and they did some kind of testing of the up above the water. They never really did the underwater portion of it.
Okay.
So I guess we can certainly talk to city engineer at that point and see if, you know, if that's necessary this year or.
So, but now if we have the unencumbered, now the carryover from the prior year, the first column, Neil?
Yep,
if-
correct.
Is that the money that we would have to use to do the roads, so we would take those away?
Some of those have already been utilized. We have, a limited amount that we're carrying over for streets, the $64,000 that's in there, funded from other sources or carryover. But what we have to deal with right now, there is a little bit over $1 million in that fund. And so we have $1 million for which we have, $2.8 million of requests. So I think, when you look at the issue really is what do we really need to do now, knowing that we're working with Ehlers and Associates on bonding and some of the capital projects where the mill and overlay projects, may be better opportunities to bond those out. However, what you may want to do is look at getting using part of the $1 million that we have for the engineering on those projects so that we can get moving on those, and then also make sure that we can be reimbursed out of the bonding. But that's one way we could get moving on those projects a little bit sooner instead of waiting for the bonding. But beyond that, I know Tom does have. I think the other thing to do is probably to identify those things that are absolutely critical that we want to move on as soon as possible. And one of those is probably, the roof repairs at the 701 First Street building, because, you don't want to wait for bonding for that. That's something, so I think if you look at that $1 million we have, it's, what are the real priority projects that we want to move on now instead of waiting? Because if we, next Tuesday we'll have a presentation from Ehlers, first cut coming back from them on a 5-year plan, and hopefully that would lead to a discussion about bonding. So some of the, the projects that we bond out, say we sell bonds in June, that we can fund some of the bigger projects. But we have the $1 million now, I think,
To get those
not that we
roads
have to
started.
spend all of it, but this will give us a head start on some of those projects. Especially if you're looking at the mill and overlay projects. If you do the engineering now, once we get the bonding in place, then we can, we're ready to go.
So the answer is, no, that doesn't include the $1 million on that first,
So
First
those
category?
projects are gonna get done.
right.
That money.
Right.
That's just carried
dedicated to
over
those.
from the previous,
Right.
it isn't part of the million, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So those projects will get done.
Yes.
All right.
Unless we say, like the keyless entry that we've had on the thing for at least
Sorry.
4 years.
Should reallocate it like we did
Right.
that with City Hall for the new server for the Windows.
I think we had it for here too, didn't we have a keyless entry for here?
Right. Then we moved it when we got the new computer system.
I hope we can still continue with that, though. Let me-
Well, okay, I'm not picking on you, Tom.
That's all right.
But that's been there a long time. I had a couple things, Tom. what did I do with them? Do you have any funds in there to do anything on the Dike Road as far as seal cracking or do something to fill some of those holes and a more permanent solution to what we have out there? And I know it's not a driven road, but it's sure walked a lot and biked and people run out there.
Actually, I visited with one of the contractors that does the crack filling and things like that, and we visited the dike path or dike road, and I said, what can we do with these large cracks? And he actually said he did a project somewhere else, and they put like a mastic material in there that's a little harder, and it'll stay rigid, and then they go over it with the flex patch like we put on some of our streets. He said that should really work good out there, and just a rough budgetary estimate would be around $20,000 to start at the bridge, and there's some large cracks like this.
That's a bargain. I shouldn't say it's a bargain. I think it's just necessary to get that done.
But is if you say rigid, is it gonna, because those cement slabs are shifting with the water?
But it's not like
Street.
the crack filling we have in the street. It's a little more rigid where it's going to hold up because there's some gaps that are probably 2.5, 3 inches wide. So it's more rigid, but it still has some flex to it. And then the top, we just go over it with like the flex patch that we put on some of our streets. So that's another potential project.
And if we look at the number of trips and falls that we had there the last couple of years.
We've had a few complaints and.
Yeah. Okay. Then what are you doing at Grandview Park for $6,000? Is that from what we had carry over? Yeah, it is, but.
That's carried over in the last couple of years that we've been, putting. After a while, the infield soil breaks down, and it's just kind of, we scrape off a few inches of the soil and put new infield dirt.
Okay. So how long does that last? 3 years, 4 years, 5 years?
Oh, I think it's more than 3 years. It's probably 5 to.
Just to make sure it was capital. Okay.
When are these parks, like the resurface basketball, resurface tennis, when is that scheduled or no?
Not yet. I know Anderson, the basketball court up at Anderson Park should be resurfaced soon. It's starting to get pretty bad.
All right, folks, you want to go through it one by one or not? Or no? What do you think?
Or do we want to find the priorities?
Yeah, I was
talk
gonna
about
say.
what we want to start out of the million.
Right,
Well,
so,
yeah, let's do
get the
that.
roof repair.
Yep, does everybody think that that's absolutely, we got to get that done, folks.
Yeah.
I did have a representative from a roofing company from U.S. Communities. Actually, they've stopped twice. We looked at it initially. Last week they stopped by, I think last Thursday, and they actually took some samples of the core samples to see how much insulation, and they looked at it once a little more snow was off of it. They had actually liked to sit down the week of the 22nd, April 22nd, that week with someone from the city, and they're going to have like a PowerPoint presentation and just show the different options that they would have for that roof. Not only is the flat roof is a rubber membrane, but then there's also 2 curved roofs up there that are metal that need repair also. So it's going to be a pretty much a total roof repair.
Okay. Could I ask what Burton Park Engineering $50,000 is?
Just for grading and plans, we've got a conceptual plan now. We've had the initial conceptual plan that was revised, and if we want to proceed, it would be just for the grading plan, the site plan, until they get a firm go-ahead from the council. I mean, we have to have probably a plan for the restroom warming house first.
I think we need to bring that back and we need to talk about that because that's about a $600,000 project.
I would guess, yeah.
Over 3 phases?
Well, we kind of started last year with the playground phase, and hopefully that's
That's a good one. That really worked out well. But I mean, the total redo, how many acres is that? 2 acres?
Yep.
spend $500,000 there is, and this is coming from capital, right? This isn't our park fund. There isn't enough money in the park fund to do this.
Not in the trust fund on the north side of 94, no.
Okay. Well, my own preference is we need to make sure that everybody on the council, before we approve a $50,000 expenditure for engineering, we got to say, yep, we're going to make a commitment for another $450,000 or $500,000 on that park.
And I'm guessing that'll be in the Ellers
Right.
long-range
Yeah,
plan,
whatever
too.
we don't approve now will be in the Ellers plan for another prioritization over the next 5 years.
I don't know.
That
does
was the
anybody-
idea, putting it in, was just so it's on the radar again, if we don't do it this year or next, that at least we know that has to be taken care of before we move forward.
Well, I think council needs to decide whether or not it makes sense to spend that kind of money on that
Yep.
park. I
Yep.
mean, maybe I don't think we have approved that, have we?
No, we have not.
I think we either have to say, I think we should go forward with it and try and find funding, or we say, that's enough, we don't have to spend any more time or money on it.
Well, at the minimal, we have to redo those bathrooms in Warming.
Sure,
That's a wreck, but
but I think we need to take a look at the plan again. I know Park Board has spent a lot of time on it and decide whether or not we want to yay or nay it. Because it's been going on for 3-4 years. I mean, I think the first phase was, I think, a big improvement. They really did a nice job with the playground equipment.
Do we have any idea what the engineering fees are gonna run? I mean,
For-
some of the road projects we're talking about, so we can get an idea of how much of the million we
I
need to
think what you would,
allocate.
Tom, what would you figure for engineering? 10% of the
10%
cost?
Of the cost?
Usually Randy can negotiate that for us.
I'll work on it.
Between 8 and 10, I would think is a good number.
Right.
So let's just say it's 10.
Okay, it's easier to figure.
So, just doing some quick math.
Get like right around 200,000.
Almost close to 200,000. So, we're up to 300,000.
Yep.
And then I would assume that with that engineering, if we decided not to do all the projects this year, we'd have it then. I mean,
Yep.
they might have to look
Right.
at it the following year, but at least they would have the bulk of it done, right?
And like Neil said, if we could at least get the engineering part done, because otherwise we run into the same problem every year, that these projects get put off till, right now, it's starting to get late already. We're already in April, we haven't got any of the bids, anything bid out yet, so
Well,
that's a good idea if we could do that.
can we I'll make a motion that we spend up to 300, was it
200.
$200,000 in engineering on these projects to get the engineering complete so we can move forward. Then we'll look at the projects, whether or not we want.
Specifically your street maintenance projects?
Yes,
Specifically,
Lori, do you have those?
First Street, Elm to Buckeye, Buckeye, Second to River, Crestview, Gateway from Crestview to the parking lot, Hanley from Namacoggin to Carmichael, Hagan to O'Keefe, and O'Keefe, Crestview to Mayor.
Okay,
I'll second your motion.
okay.
You want to throw the roof repair in too, or is that
The what?
the roof repair, are we doing that?
Want to put the roof repair in there too?
But you want to do it separate, just because,
Cleary, okay, yep.
Okay. Any discussions on that for the engineering start, so we can get started on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
so I guess one other one that jumps out is the storm sewer rehabilitation on Buckeye Street.
We're still kind of waiting for Foth to do a visual inspection. We televised it last fall, but not enough information was, you couldn't see enough from the camera, so they would really like to go down and with, confined space equipment and physically go down inside the pipe and get a better idea how much it's going to cost before they.
Karen gave us she has gave us a pretty good indication that there's some significant work that needs to be done. Wasn't there a section of pipe missing?
Yep, and some large holes and things like that. We can see all that, but there's some other areas, I think where the one vault is in Buckeye Street look pretty good. That's just more of a repair, but there's other spots that might need to be replaced.
So,
I think if we're looking at that, one of the things we may be able to do, again, once Karen has that information, is approve funding for the engineering. And a source for that, it's not, we're not sitting on a lot of money in the stormwater utility,
Yep.
but we do have money for that.
Yep.
So if we approve that project with funding coming from the stormwater utility, that would at least be a good start.
Right.
It's not going to cover the whole 200,000, but at least it'll get us to the point where we can bid and potentially bond something out. And if we bonded it out, we may be able to utilize the stormwater utility monies to repay the debt on that portion.
so are we still looking at approximately 10% for engineering on that?
Yes.
I would assume
Okay,
Now, we're gonna try and get 8, right?
Randy is.
Or
that's where
7?
Randy comes in. What about the maintenance and crack filling? That's listed at 130. I mean, that's something that we could get going on.
That's
isn't it?
something that we should really,
They could start tomorrow. Well, maybe not tomorrow.
I think some places are, but the areas that I thought we could look at are St. Croix Street again. We did some flex patching and crack filling last year. I'd like to revisit flex patching and seal coat that. Vine Street from Wisconsin all the way out to Carmichael. Look at crack filling, flex patching, seal coating, and then that would be a good time to paint that median by the high school.
Can we put our right turn lane in so we don't have everybody backed all the way up?
Marty and I have talked about it for several years, and this would be the opportunity where we could get it repainted.
Perfect. I mean, it would speed traffic there immensely.
Vine Hills, we need to crack fill that area. That was slurry sealed a few years ago. 7th Street from Wisconsin to St. Croix, again, crack fill, flex patch, and seal coat. These are just my suggestions. Stage Line Road, last year we did Carmichael to the city boundaries by the hospital. I'd like to continue from Stage Line from Coach Light to the bridge by the movie theater. That would be crack filling and flex patching. 7th Street South from Wisconsin south to Summer Street. Again, I'm proposing we crack fill, flex patch, and seal coat. Hunter Hill from Wisconsin to Grandview, we should consider seal coating and crack filling. The Dyke Road, again, with some type of crack filler and flex patch. And as part of the sidewalk program, as we have gotten a lot of our concrete sidewalks in pretty good repair, that we should start looking at some of our walking paths, especially if you'd ever notice Crestview Drive from Hagan Street to Carmichael is in need of, there's a lot of cracks and the aggregate is really exposed, so I think we should maybe consider doing some kind of a treatment on there as part of our sidewalk program.
So 150 or you got 130? If we put the Dyke Road in at 20?
I'm at 223, just budgetary.
Okay.
I think one of the things we might be able to do is using the park improvement funds for the moorings for Dyke Road too.
Yeah.
And, that would give us between the 30 and the 10 you had mentioned previously, the 20, so we're up to $60,000 of improvements on the dike.
And there's 70,000,
That estimate-
77,000 in there, I think.
Correct.
Yep.
The estimate for Crestview Walk Path is about 5, so you could deduct that off there also. These are budgetary numbers. I think they're on the high side.
Okay.
And then you also have the sidewalk curb and gutter program in there as well.
Yep. How much is that total again? 2.25?
This is about 223, but like I said, we take a little bit of the Crestview Drive walk path and the Dyke Road. That's 25,000 off there. So, but if I could just say a couple words on street maintenance,
Yep.
I think that's where we've dropped the ball a little bit in the last. It's something, when we get a new street, we have to realize that after 2 to 3 years, we have to crack fill. I mean, that's probably our best investment we can is on any new street is get that thing crack filled as soon as we see cracks. Generally, it's at 2 to 3 years. So anytime we get a new street, we should be crack filling. So
Didn't
a lot
we
of
do
these.
that on Crestview, Tom? We redid Crestview, didn't we?
Yeah, and I think you've noticed that the last few years that
Sure.
we're pretty aggressive on any streets that we've milled and overlaid. But
Sure.
anyway, on any new streets, we really have to invest in it. It's not like you put a new street in, you're going to forget about it for 20 years. I think the investment has to be that first 3 years, 2 to 3 years, and get them crack filled so that streets don't start deteriorating. Then all of a sudden, then we're doing the flex patch and all this other stuff. But
I don't think anybody on this particular group disagrees with you.
no, they've been very kind, and I think that we're on the right path.
Okay, how much, you want a motion for the, 2.25?
I would like to, if we could even increase, I think we have 130 proposed, if we could even consider, 200,000.
How about 230?
I can find a spot for it, that's for sure. We have a lot of other streets that we do crack filling on.
Okay. I'll make a motion for the 230 for the crack filling and street maintenance.
Second.
second it.
Okay, so anybody keeping a running total here?
I am right now, we're at 430.
Okay, that includes the engineering, right?
That includes the engineering.
Okay.
But not the roof.
But not the roof.
So that would be 530.
Yep. I think that's a good start, isn't it?
Right.
All in favor of this last motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? How about the roof? We need to put the roof out.
We need to put the roof,
Okay,
And actually, just so you're aware, it's already been bid. It's part of the U.S. communities, correct?
right.
So it's
Everything,
already-
all the unit prices are out there, so it's a matter of,
So we can get going
calculation.
on it. We wouldn't have to wait through the process of bidding it.
we need to get going on that. I mean, we just can't have the water leaking in that building.
So I'd like, we can talk about a meeting, but April 22nd, 23rd, or 24th is open if anyone would like to attend.
Well, I don't know, Lori, Public Works, do you want to attend that?
Sure.
Okay. Is there a motion for the bid on the roof, roughly? I guess, should we
The
make an
estimate.
approval before we know what the bid is in case they're watching?
Well, aren't you,
actually, it's already bid.
It isn't, we don't know what it is though, do we?
Sure.
Do they
I
give us?
mean, we don't
we know
know
what the bid
our
price is.
our
We don't
roof,
know
but
what
if you
our-
look at the type of roofing you have.
Yep.
There's a bid price for X amount per square feet.
Okay.
If
So
for
once we
roof
determine-
flashing,
right.
there's a bid price for X amount per square feet.
Okay.
There's like 4 or 5 pages of parameters that are all their unit costs that you would typically get in a bid are already, they're set.
So is 100 the number?
That's the estimate.
That was Tom's
That was
ballpark
from
estimate.
actually another firm that, right after we had started having the problems, that was with another firm, and then.
Could be lower, could be higher.
I'm not sure, I think it depends on what the city council wants to do it with, are we gonna keep that building for a long time? I guess
Doesn't
that was-
matter.
it's been open.
It doesn't matter because if we're gonna, yes, so I think you
So
go under the
we're looking
assumption.
at long-term.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think that's what they'll be talking to us, if we can hold off on that, until the 22nd or 23rd.
Well, I would think if you budgeted the money now,
Yep.
then you could make a decision that you could bring forward
Right.
to do that.
We maybe can set it up for the 22nd, which is the night of the council meeting, and then that night, if there's an issue,
Okay.
Would that be all right? At least we'd have a
Sure.
little better idea, because I tried to corral him this afternoon, and
Would-
he'd like to present it as a,
But as a asset of the city, we need to keep that building protected and put a roof on it that isn't leaking, because we've got the sheetrock and the books and the computers, and it's a mess. It needs to be fixed.
It's just Marty's.
No, it needs to be fixed.
You could designate X amount now just to get it
Right.
bookmarked.
So I'll
earmarked.
make a
Yeah,
motion that
just a
we
spot.
just mark 100,000 for
Okay.
that and get more information on the exact numbers.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion on it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Where else do we want to go here? I think that's a good start. Does that get you going?
great, yes, thank you.
Did you want to have a motion with regard to the Dyke Road improvements? Because we had the 3 improvements that we said would come from the mooring fee. At least that could set that in motion too.
I'll make that motion, because that's 30, the riprap, and
The underwater inspection for 10 and then patching for 20, so that would be at 60.
I had a question. Do we really, I'll ask that question that I asked before. Do we really need to do underwater inspection? I mean, what do you think, Tom? I mean,
You get in there.
no, we have,
I'm not an engineer, I don't.
I'm not either.
Didn't we do that, or we didn't do that?
No, we
A
didn't do it.
Visual outside,
Use their dive team.
Yeah. Can we hire our dive team? No, I'm kidding.
Could, maybe they could practice sometime though.
What do you think, folks? I mean, what's it gonna tell us?
We have to rebuild the bridge.
Well, it's going to tell us the condition of, the structure underwater and whether
Yeah.
or not it needs,
Is it potentially a safety issue with the garbage trucks and the other things going over that bridge? I don't know if it's an issue of structural integrity with the trucks that go over it. It's worth the investment, but I don't know if it is or not. So
Okay, well, there's two ways to handle that. We can spend the $10,000 or say we can't send heavy trucks across that.
So
Simple
then
as
you got
that.
emergency vehicles that gotta get down there.
Well, right, but that would be emergency rather than, well, I don't care. It's up to you guys. I just,
How about if we revisit the, report that Monastro did and, maybe discuss it with Karen and
Sure.
both and see if they have any recommendations?
it's a lot of money. But if you feel like we need to do that, I wouldn't want to have, but
I wouldn't want to sit here someday and have that bridge be a problem for us and we save $10,000 on it. And I guess with the uncertainty of how much we know and don't know, I guess.
I think we got the exterior report that was fairly, I don't know what the right word is, was fairly structurally good, if I remember the report. I don't remember word
I
for word.
think they talked about riprap, they talked about maybe installing some railings
Right.
at the end of each sidewalk and things like that we should
Yep.
certainly look at.
But as far as the external structure was sound, would that be a fair statement based on that report that we did?
Yep. And I think they
4
felt
years
that,
ago?
we gave them a list of the vehicles that were going to go over it, and I didn't see any red flags.
Yeah.
Garbage trucks and safety vehicles.
I'm certainly willing to go along with it if you guys want to do that, but if we could at least let our engineering firm take a look at that. Because I think there's a company, Minneapolis, that does this. I mean, there isn't a whole bunch of folks that do this, right?
I think someone from Foth actually did some of the testing.
Did they? Yeah, I think you're
But they
right.
didn't do the
Underwater,
underwater. They
no.
weren't, have the equipment or qualified people for that.
So what do you want to do? You want to
It's
include
gonna be
that?
inevitable that we're gonna have to do it.
Okay,
And,
is that a motion?
yeah,
I'll second it.
All right. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
short of taking out the dike, then I don't think we have a choice.
but I'm somewhat serious about using our dive team if it makes sense.
I'll
Yeah.
ask Glenn.
Instead of hiring people to come in that,
If it's something, that they can identify what they're supposed to be
Right.
looking for.
and they have the equipment, the underwater cameras, or
I'm not sure
Oh,
they'd be
just to
qualified.
document
just to
it.
document it,
Yeah.
just to take photographs, whatever. I mean, just a thought.
And then you could have engineers maybe look at the
Right.
photographs.
Good idea. But we're not going to pay them 10 grand. This is a training exercise, right? I'm kidding. All right.
The one project that Tom had mentioned with regard to Crestview, he's carrying over, almost $38,000 from last year's sidewalk curb and gutter program. So that may be an initial source for something like Crestview that would enable you to move forward on that right now.
You mean the bike paths?
Right, for the bike paths, exactly.
Was that Crestview or Hagen? Were you talking Crestview?
It's on Crestview Drive, but it goes from Hagen all the way down to the Green Mill.
Gotcha. Yep.
It's just a good place to start. It's probably the poorest condition walk path that we have.
Okay.
Can we identify a couple other small equipment items,
Okay.
possibly?
All right.
You don't want to
I'm
talk
looking
about the
at the-
front end loader.
No, I'm thinking about like the SCBA compressor for fire,
What is that?
The
the
compressor for scuba gear.
self-contained breathing apparatus, the,
Yeah, for
Stuff
the
they wear when they go into the fires.
air packs to refill those.
Okay. So is our current one
It
old?
was in- I believe it's 20 plus, from
Yes.
what I understand, and also it was was budgeted within their capital budget that we spread out over to the other departments, over the 10 years, to the other entities, one of the jurisdictions. So it wouldn't all be a city cost, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It would be up front, but
And if we don't want to go there, we don't have to start looking at equipment. It was just, I guess we could wait and see
Right.
where some of these other things come back.
That'd be
and-
good, I think. Let's just, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay? Tell me about the front end loaders, just a big item.
That is a big, we did some repairs on our oldest case loader last year, and we made it through the winter. Some of the comments were that, it still runs okay, but it doesn't have the power that it probably should have. I think we should consider, probably getting rid of it before something major happens. We won't get any trade-in value on it.
I thought we talked about running that, fixing it and then running to the ground and then get you a new one. at
I think we
Public
did do
Works.
that. Last year, right?
Didn't we approve that new one?
I don't think we did.
No.
We haven't approved a new one. We talked about keeping the old one and just
Because you
keeping
can't
it
get anything
running
for it. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. I just think it's a stretch if we think we're gonna get too many more years out of it. It's one of our biggest snowplow equipment for doing cul-de-sacs and things like that, so.
Okay?
Well, if he's got to do cul-de-sacs, I'm in favor of buying it.
Oh, gee.
The other thing is, I don't know if there's plenty of options out there. Instead of making a big capital investment out there, if the council would consider like a lease program where you pay so many dollars every year and then we wouldn't have that upfront cost. I don't know if Neil's ever dealt
Problem
with.
with that, I think it might come out of operating. Would that be?
It almost becomes an operating expense.
Okay.
And then
which that budget's even worse.
that's even tougher to deal with.
Okay,
And I think the one thing, if you're looking at that now where there may be a need, that might be something to bond out, because if,
Yeah.
if we have the dollars now, and if it's primarily used for ice and snow, hopefully, we're near the end of that season, and
Yeah.
as long as we get it in advance of the next.
Okay. What's your pleasure?
I'd be in favor of going for a new one.
Is that a
I'll
motion?
make a motion
Is there a
to
second?
approve the 200,000 for the front load.
Is there a second?
I'll second it for discussion.
Okay.
What's the running hours on that old one and how old is it? 20
I
years?
was just looking at, it's number 16. I don't have it, it's not on my equipment list here, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I mean, it's not gonna get any cheaper.
No. Okay.
Well, we can go out for bid, right?
Yep, we'll go out for bid and bring it back and see where it comes.
And that was, that was including, plow and a wing set up with that, and if we sold out the other loader, maybe we could reuse this wing and plow, because this is fairly new.
Thought we wanted to keep that though for a backup.
Yeah.
If we would, then that, actually, that was my intention,
Okay.
that, then if we ever had a spare, at least we have something as a backup. And if we have an extra person sometime, we have a bad storm, then we have 3 front-end loaders going.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is that enough on this
Yes.
for now?
Got it, Penny, on the money.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Okay, discuss an allocation of revenue on courtesy dock. I think,
Alderperson Yakub was
brought that on?
married.
Well, I can talk to that. One of the things about the lease that we have, I think it's 5,000. We'd like to take a certain percentage of that, go into our park fund, parking fund. So that we have somewhere between 40% and 50% of that money goes into parking to help offset the cost of our parking lot, or our fund, to build our fund up. Anybody have a question or an issue with that? Or thinks it's a good idea or a bad idea?
Good idea.
Okay. Is there a motion? Let's say 40%?
So moved. Is that, you make the motion?
Yes, I'll make the motion for
Second.
40. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Determine funding source for repairs for the railing in City Hall parking lot.
The railing out here, I authorized because it was something of an emergency. It was in pretty bad shape, that to get the repairs done. Would it end up being about $2,000, Tom? The question is whether we should get authorization to move that money out of the parking fund, since it's parking related.
I think it should come out of the parking fund.
But we didn't have the authorization to do that, but we wanted him to go ahead and get the work done before, so we just wouldn't need an authorization to move 2,000.
There was actually nothing in the budget,
Correct.
for a repair of that size.
So we just need a motion to move 2,000 from the parking fund to the general
Are
fund.
they gonna paint it?
I suppose we'll paint it, that was just welding and repair.
Okay. So moved.
Yeah, I have no problem with it. I'm just not seeing,
It's
this picture
fixed
is
now.
kind of,
It's fixed, yeah.
Oh.
It's the rail that goes along the wall.
okay,
There were some spots where it was rusting through, and
okay.
We might want to look at the front walkway here too. The side, or the railing.
the one going down the parking lot.
No, right here.
Yeah, that's what I meant, that one there, yeah.
No, the ones for City Hall.
Oh, actually on City Hall.
Yep.
Yeah.
They need to be fixed up a little. Anyway, all in favor of this?
Need a second.
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Randy made a motion.
I'll
No, he
second.
made the
I
motion.
made the motion.
Okay.
I second.
Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you. Okay, review and approve a job description for authorization of city administrator to begin hiring process for the city mechanic and position.
Dan Artner resigned, his last day was last Friday. Tom and I and Deb have gone, and Chuck Perlock went through and made some adjustments to the job description, which was last approved in 2005. The changes are indicated here.
Any comments, questions?
Well, I think this is an essential position to keep our investments operating properly.
Well, and plus there's the immediacy of having someone, when it breaks down during a snowstorm.
I'll move for you guys to go out for advertising.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Application of the Hudson Boosters, Inc. for a temporary Class B retailer's license to sell beer and wine on July 3rd through the 6th, 2012, at the annual Hudson Booster Days event at Lakefront Park.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. There was an item on the agenda that I didn't get on this month that was asked at the last meeting, and that was on the fireworks.
So we had it on there, we just crossed it off.
Crossed it off
Yep.
because it was late, it was my fault, I didn't get the thing out in time for the other municipalities. We'll have it on next time.
Okay.
Okay? Is there a motion to adjourn, or anybody else that would want to add something to the agenda? Okay,
Move to adjourn.
is there a second?
Second.
We're adjourned, thank you.